I am alone. I am looking at the horizon, and sand is beneath my feet. Waves are lapping against my ankles. My hands are in light fists that are dangling at my sides. I am lifting my arms forward as my hands are unfurling from being fists, stretching my fingers out toward the horizon where the sun is getting low. The true length of my fingers I am feeling as all the muscles are elongating. I am walking towards the horizon as the waves are swirling at my knees. I am not sinking much deeper. I am continuing to the horizon. I am half submerged in water. My hands are grazing the horizon, and the tips of my fingers are picking and grabbing at the horizon line. My hands and arms are proceeding to be thrashing at it. Chunks of the horizon are in my fists, and I am throwing it behind me. The splashing of the chunks is my mantra of motivation. Finally, I am tearing the horizon apart, enough for there to be a hole, big enough for my body. I am slipping through the passage and now falling. This is a surprise. I am now in a desert. The air quickly dries my clothes and hair as I lay on the hard, cracked earth. I am getting to my feet, and the desert is flat as a prairie field. Setting my eyes on the distance, and I can see the horizon. And so I begin again. What We Leave Behind by Julia Guzzio. Mother. Dear Diary, I cannot grow wearier for my son. My jaw cannot be any more clenched. Even my husband noticed my tense arms at bedtime. The genius rarely notices anything. My son circles his face and just his face with the tip of his finger. I asked him why. He only smiled and walked away. This behavior reminded me of his father when I tell him that I love him. I sent my son outside today to play. I feel that is what a 6-year-old should do instead of lying on his bed and lightly touching his face. He is a good boy, besides the strange behavior. He always takes the trash out, and sometimes I do not even have to ask him to do so. He knows his father, down in the basement, is far more engrossed in his work. My husband is not known widely for his art. The small circles that my husband paces in, dwells in, he thrives in, and when he is working, is unlike his character when he is with us. And T.D. noticed our son's unusual habit when he was much smaller, maybe about 3 years old and change. Now I must tend to the dishes, and to my son who should be napping now. Well, one last thing, diary. My son hates to be awoken. Mortician. They said he was allergic to the sun, just like a vampire. They also said he covered his face when he was out at night, with a hat pulled down low and a scarf wrapped high, only revealing his stormy sea eyes. No one understood why. Most evenings he fished in the town lake. Some would see him silhouetted in his slowly moving rowboat, with a lantern as it burned in the night. In town, people who crossed his path would get a slight nod and a quick muffled greeting. That's what the residents of Hillendale said, until his body washed up on the shore of Kirkdale Lake, as dawn peeked its anticipated head. The night patrol officer found his body lying face down on the sand. That's how he came to be on my embalming station. The authorities told me to make him look lifelike and as normal as possible for the open casket service they planned. The powers that be want him to put the rumors about his unusual complexion. His face was silver. Nothing else was silver about him, not even a hair on his head. The funeral home is farther from the lake than any other building. I work in an old house converted into a funeral parlor. It's mine. I own it. I don't live in this town. It's the first I've seen him. I don't like sleeping under the same roof with the deceased. My husband prefers it that way as well. He is young-looking, with a full head of dark brown hair. Fingernails were short and clean, despite being in a lake. I found that peculiar, with his body was not bloated, nor the rest of his skin discolored from lack of oxygen and decomposition. It made me think of foul play. I alerted the police, but they dismissed it. The authorities want him 6 feet under fast. They're not fond of press like this. I did eventually cover his face to match the rest of his pale skin. I had made him handsome, which was no chore. He had beautiful bone structure that was proportional forehead to chin. His eyes were the same distance apart, and they aligned with the corners of his mouth. By the time I was done with him, he could have been in films. To the authorities, in my surprise, the townspeople were not that interested in taking a look at him. In fact, I was the only attendee at the wake. The burial was quick. I assume this is how the man would have wanted it. He went out of this world thinking only his mirror had knowledge of his silver face. Detective. I bullied myself through the door of his house. Unfortunately, a name has yet to be found. They did not put a letter on the tombstone. They engraved a letter S for a silver face. There was no key, so I had to. I found out where he lived from the grocery store owner. The house sparkled as if dust did not happen to exist. It smelled like vinegar, bleach, and pine. The furniture was a mixture of different decades, some from I doubt he was alive for. My intrusion yielded little information. The most interesting observation was about 2 notebooks I found on his bedside table. One of the journals appears to be his mother's. The other one looks, well, creepy, and not written at the same time. He is addressing his dead father, and it seems this method of coping was prescribed to him by a doctor. I need to find out who this doctor is. The higher-ups want to know more about this strange man. The grocery store owner. All I know about this man is what he eats, where he lives, not his name. He left an envelope with a typed list of groceries and an address he would like delivered every other week on Wednesdays. He paid in cash. He would leave an envelope with the exact amount and tip for the delivery boy on his steps. The grocery list was 6 cans of tuna in water, 3 cans of salmon in water, 1 bundle of celery, 1 small jar of mayo, 1 carton of milk, 1 bundle of carrots, a bag of sweet onions, a small bag of garlic, 1 carton of orange juice, a can of tomato juice, 3 cans of tomato sauce, 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, 1 case of bottled seltzer, 1 case of bottled water. The delivery boy. His porch was always clean. I liked the rocking chairs. I was not scared of him. Or the house. No strange feelings like getting goosebumps. I never saw him. I would leave the groceries by the door, and the first time I delivered the groceries, there was a note with instructions to knock once and feel free to sit on the rocking chair. The first time I did not sit on the rocking chairs. I did knock once, though, before I left. It took me a few times to try out a rocking chair. When I finally sat in one, I was nervous. As I said before, I never was. I do not like to overstep my boundaries because I do not want to let go from the delivering groceries. Since he wanted his groceries to be delivered on Wednesday, he was the only delivery. One time I was sitting on a rocking chair, and someone who was walking by asked me if I lived there. I said no, I'm a friend. They looked confused for a long moment, staring at me, and then finally walked away. Son. Dear Father, one cloudy and brisk afternoon when I was not allowed outside for playtime, before my nap, Auntie D watched me playing with my wooden blocks. As I watched her crocheting the blanket she was making, it was made entirely out of small circles. If you ever had an interest in your son, you would know that I am obsessed with my face. Not in a vainly way, not obsessed with one's own image. The way my face translated through the touch from my fingers, starting from my nose with the tip of my finger, I would start to lightly feel my face in circular motions. I would happily glide around my face. Detective. I strolled back to the house, walked easily in this time. The first time I also found a key. I forgot to mention that. My apologies on that matter. After reading the journals, I could not stop thinking about the basement. I know it's not the same house he grew up in. What kind of basement would this person of this nature have? I kept trying the doors to find the basement. Finally, I found the door between the pantry and the mudroom. The door was heavy but well greased. The stairs to the basement surprisingly did not squeak. The basement had jars of silver pigment on a shelf. They were neatly stacked canvases and various kinds of brushes in a corner. No easel in sight. There was a desk with a mirror. There was also a jar of silver pigment and a pair of dishwashing gloves, covered only on the fingertips with silver pigment. I also noticed some antique fishing equipment and heard movement upstairs. I adhered to protocol, took out my weapon out of my holster, and proceeded up the stairs to the main floor with caution. When I placed both feet in the hallway, I saw the mortician. After seeing him in all his glory, and lifeless, he seems more alive than ever before to me. At least, I do not know how you feel about him. I remember seeing you briefly at the burial. You spoke to the groundskeeper of the graveyard. You did not look sad. You looked like you were working, and it was very important. What you were saying to him. You seemed more out of place than the man with the silver face. Then I saw you at the market with the same kind of authority exuding from your face. I knew you were trying to find out about the man. No, I did not hear your conversation with the delivery boy. I had work to do at the funeral home, and my husband was expecting me at our home. You did not know that I do not live in this town. My husband and I prefer not to sleep with the dead beneath us. We could. Son. Dear Father, I craved your attention. I thought that a father craved the attention of their child. All your attention went to your canvas. I was left with Mother or Auntie D. I thought if I too had an obsession, that you would eventually notice me. Fragile. Every morning, as we stare at each other's bedhead, don't break me, and I will hold you till next morning comes. As comets graze our eyelashes, as our sheets make galaxies, as our feet graze each other's kneecaps, letting our strands of hair mingle like constellations. Every time I make you orange juice, you always say I put too much pulp, but you drink it anyway with a smile and a wink. The same way you sip wine coolers on rainy days, as you smear a pink lip gloss on the glass, from lips that never stop pursing, yet you never look like a fish. It's a gift. It's a gift. Your wisps are like graceful stems, with flowers that bloom from the end, with the perfume of good hygiene. Every morning, as we pretend to read the business section, as we cave in and read the comics, I stare at you as Snoopy and Calvin make your day. I stare at you as you make elongating to-do lists in your head and scribble in the margins of the stock market graphs with a stare that leads to nowhere but me. I stare at you as you stare at me, staring each other down for the art section, making treaties in between the science section and the world events. Every morning, I stare at your empty side. I have not changed the pillowcases. They still smell like your body wash. The sheets still have your lip gloss stains from missed kisses. I still felt them. I still keep the paper in the middle of the bed. The difference is I am starting to understand finance. There are similarities in love in the stock market. So much time invested, and you can still walk away with empty hands and a fractured heart line. Don't break me, and I will keep you. And I will cradle you like a mother, be as loose as a fun uncle, be as understanding as a good therapist. Yet I am none of those things. So we could be anything. So we can pull on our galoshes, make a flask of something good, be each other's rebound as we slam back together to hand-holding, drinking expensive espresso next to stroller-pushing moms, as we smile at their end result. Maybe we want some of those too. Every morning, there will be a connection of excitement, not because of anything unusual, because we are in us. Soulmates. When you close your eyes and all goes quiet, someone else's world goes quiet too. When the itch to be awake comes, both pairs open. Soulmates are not a pretend thing. Soulmates appear more than once. Soulmates know when each half is ready to connect their vines of time. As the vines intertwine tighter and tighter, it becomes one and stands on its own just like a tree. With more time, children come like new leaves, sprout more vines that droop like branches, laden with the snow of life. The way leaves move. I saw you, the way leaves, lovers, see each other at the beach. You appeared into my life the way a cool breeze turns leaves before droplets hit the pavement. As we coast through the longitude and latitude of fate and destiny that encompasses as our home, to be more like machines made to work, eat, and die, We broke the barrel-chest arrogance that was keeping all apart, all that wanted to intertwine into vines of life that will grow on heavy houses filled with spry spawn. I see you in the wake lines. The tide seems to tease us with quick glances, soon to be cast away on the same paradise. Are we lost, or soothed in couples' isolation? Are we lost, or is a peace of tranquility upon us? Are we lost, for who is to say we are not found? You are from where the goddess are pearls and oysters. Aphrodite is your queen. Do I dare say, tease me not, fair maiden? Do I dare say all? As the rain hits the pavement, after the leaves twitch upwards as they always do, let's embrace the waterfall on our shoulders. Fall on our watches, on to stop them as we gaze as the soaked sunset, when the lines of life are on our faces, when our joints creak like old floorboards. Let there be fond recollection of rain and oysters. Capital T. It would be an honor to be messed up by you, to feel your baggage on top of mine. When I gazed at you sipping coffee by your lonesome, I knew you would be trouble. I sat next to you. I am also a capital T. So let's play pool with our emotions. So let's give each other looks that no one else can read. It would be an honor to run through your minefield life. I did not need those toes anyway. I can balance my feelings just fine on this tightrope life we have created. I want to feel your claws underneath your gloves. Your talons can tango with mine. No one is all sugar. So let's lap up our sweet sides and exchange saliva. So let's not mull over things to the point of banality. Those actions will only make us slip, just like banana peels. When it is all over, we are left with just our own I and our own capital T. There might be forklifts ready for our baggage. Or maybe we can still sit on the love seat. Or maybe we can still rock each other's boats and throw out the life vests when one of us goes overboard. I would be an honor to get messed up by you. When I saw you sitting on the park bench, I knew I wanted to change with you. So let's get dirty and make some brutes for our family tree with our capital T's. She is far from home tonight. I found you in a pile of stones. You were a beatbox with no more rhythm. I tried to tune you back into beats as you skipped me across your ocean's tide. She is far from home tonight, paler than the porcelain moon. I hold her more carefully than my beloved doll from childhood. There is nothing childlike now. I just can't help but sense we are rocking each other's broken cradles from times we both do not speak of. She's far from home tonight, eyes more shocking than shooting stars. I kiss both eyelids that do no justice, from them shining on through. I wonder if mine blind her. She's far from home tonight. She had love written in her smile lines, and freedom in her crow's feet, all from the wings of laughter. All the sand is gone. She is far from home tonight. The way you undress is like poetry. The way you undress is like poetry. Nothing is in order. You are more strategic, a scientist even. The way you dress, everything in its place. Me, I'm a faint hypothesis of a whirlwind, more like a living collage of fiber. I had never thought the pieces of me would match the holes in you. Now we are a kaleidoscope of life, a living, intersecting creation. We have made our own Eden. We do not bite into what we do not want to know. We are both trees of knowledge and trees of life. We have no shame. We undress like poetry, suited up for the world, suited up with our heart on the outside. How can anyone break the light? If the light blinds, if they hate, if they believe that all should love, then they will see with new eyes. Your words are the battles that cry with beams of light. Our war is won with kindness. After the veil of hate is broken, we will all undress like poetry and reveal our true selves. Megaphones. When I heard you whispering, heart scream, and then I thought, there you are. You finally found your voice. It was not a flare in the barren sky. You were not a sinking ship in a deserted ocean. When you looked at me with all of your feelings in your eyes, baby, please use your words so we both can be megaphones with batteries. Epic love. May Homer string his harp, sing a song for your delicate ears, as it settles into your strong soul. May your heart soften with his sweet words. Icarus in love. How can I calm your hurricane heart? Would it be daring of I to reach for sunshine, mix love into the wax that binds my wings, use feathers from fallen cooing doves to bring your torch of warmth? Or do you desire a mountain of towels for your sadness to drain onto? Let the tears trickle down to make an ocean. Or I can make you a million distractions that will spill out of my pen for your sullen head with sweet thoughts. There will be no need for hurricanes. Spotless. Where do you go when you do not dream? When all the light is gone? Have you been digging in yourself, into places where there may be more peace? Where do you go when you do not dream? When your eyelids do not droop? Is that the fault of a clattering time, or things have gone awry? Where do you go when you do not dream? Are there roads of thought to trudge alone?